A quiet but powerful signal has just come from the Supreme Court, and it is reshaping the future of gun rights in America. This is not a headline-grabbing ban. It is not a dramatic announcement that makes people panic overnight. It is something far more serious. It is a shift in how gun rights are judged, enforced, and quietly taken away. And under this new reality, gun rights now hang by a thread. For years, gun owners focused on big moments, major cases, sweeping legislation, clear victories or losses. But the Supreme Court has now made it clear that the future of gun rights will not be decided only by big bans. It will be decided by structure, process, and precision. And that changes everything. The court has reaffirmed that the Second Amendment exists. That matters. But at the same time, it has clarified how far governments can go when regulating firearms, through procedures, findings, and narrowly written rules. That clarification is the signal. It tells lower courts and lawmakers exactly how to regulate without triggering immediate constitutional collapse. The result is a legal environment where rights technically exist, but exercising them safely requires near-perfect compliance. The margin for error has shrunk. What used to be a warning is now a charge. What used to be forgiven is now enforced. And what used to be obvious is now buried in paperwork. The most important change is how courts now think. Judges are no longer asking only whether a law restricts gun ownership. They are asking how the law is structured. Does it include hearings? Does it include findings? Is it temporary? Is it individualized? Is it tied to public safety language and historical principles? If the answer is yes, courts are far more likely to allow that law to operate. This matters because states are watching closely. Legislatures are no longer passing blunt laws that scream ban. They're passing careful laws that whisper process, permits, renewals, training requirements, storage rules, reporting deadlines, administrative reviews. Each one sounds reasonable. Each one feels manageable. Together, they create a system where one mistake can end ownership. Gun rights now hang by a thread not because the Constitution disappeared, but because the system has become unforgiving. Intent matters less than compliance. Good faith matters less than documentation. What you meant to do matters less than what you actually did on paper. Permits are a clear example. Many permits now expire quietly. Miss a renewal, miss a notice, assume there is a grace period, and suddenly, lawful possession becomes unlawful possession. There is no dramatic moment where someone tells you your rights are gone. You find out when enforcement steps in. Training requirements are another pressure point. Many gun owners rely on training taken years ago. Under new laws, that training may be meaningless. If the statute requires recent approved instruction, courts will enforce that literally. It does not matter that you are experienced. It does not matter that you have handled firearms safely for decades. Dates matter more than history. Storage laws are tightening in the same way. The idea of safe storage is no longer flexible. It is defined by statute. If a firearm is accessed by someone else, especially a minor, the owner is judged by compliance, not intention. Even if no harm occurs, the legal consequences can be severe. Reporting rules have become traps as well. Lost or stolen firearms must often be reported within very short windows. 48 hours is common. Stress does not pause the deadline. Confusion does not extend it. Failing to report on time can itself be a crime, even though the owner is the victim. Civil court proceedings are one of the most underestimated dangers in this new environment. Protective orders, restraining orders, and administrative findings can now trigger firearm restrictions without any criminal conviction. These processes move fast. They rely on paperwork. Miss a hearing, ignore a notice, assume it is temporary, and your legal status can change overnight. The Supreme Court has made it clear that when these processes include notice and hearings, courts will respect them. That means civil cases can quietly do what criminal cases used to be required for. Gun rights can be suspended or erased without a jury, without a trial, and without a conviction. Enforcement behavior follows clarity. When the law is unclear, enforcement hesitates. When the Supreme Court clarifies the rules, enforcement accelerates. Officers, prosecutors, and regulators feel protected when they act. Technical violations that once resulted in warnings now result in charges. This creates a dangerous lag. Many gun owners continue living under old assumptions. They believe nothing has changed because nothing has happened yet. But the system has already moved. By the time enforcement reaches them, they are already exposed. Court challenges do not offer immediate protection. The laws that survive early review often remain active for years while litigation continues. During that time, they are enforced. People are arrested under them. Rights are lost under them. Even if a law is later struck down, the damage is already done. The Supreme Court's signal is not that gun rights are gone. It is that gun rights now depend on precision. Compliance must be exact. Awareness must be constant. Assumptions are dangerous. This is why gun rights now hang by a thread. Not because the thread is invisible, but because it is thin. One misstep, one missed deadline, one ignored notice, and the thread snaps. This moment does not call for panic. It calls for attention. Gun ownership has entered a phase where awareness is part of responsibility. Staying legal now requires effort, organization, and caution. The Supreme Court has not declared the end of the Second Amendment. It has clarified the rules of survival. And under those rules, the owners who adapt will remain protected. The ones who assume nothing changed will learn the truth the hard way. Gun rights still exist, but they are fragile. And right now, they hang by a thread. Now, let's talk about what this Supreme Court signal means in real life, because the danger is not theoretical. It shows up in ordinary moments, routine decisions, and small oversights that people never expected to matter. This is where gun rights are quietly lost. The first reality gun owners must accept is that the system no longer assumes compliance. It demands proof of it. Ownership is no longer treated as a stable status you earn once. It is treated as an ongoing condition that must be continuously maintained. That change alone explains why the margin for error has become so thin. Paperwork is now critical. Permits, licenses, training certificates, and storage compliance are not background details anymore. They are frontline issues. If you cannot immediately show that everything is current and valid, the system does not pause to let you figure it out. Confusion is treated as noncompliance. Missing documentation is treated as a violation. Deadlines are one of the most common ways rights are lost without intention. Permit renewals, reporting windows, and training validity periods are enforced exactly as written. Many people assume grace periods exist. Often, they do not. A permit that expires quietly can turn lawful possession into unlawful possession overnight. Carrying under an expired permit is not treated as a misunderstanding. It is treated as a legal breach. Training requirements are expanding under this new framework. Courts are now more willing to accept training mandates as long as states frame them as safety-based and procedural. That means more rules, not fewer. Training taken years ago may no longer qualify. Experience does not replace certification. If the law requires recent instruction, courts will enforce the date, not the skill level. Storage laws have also become less forgiving. Many gun owners believe they are compliant because they store firearms responsibly. The law does not evaluate responsibility in general terms. It evaluates whether the storage method meets the statute exactly. If a firearm is accessed by someone else, especially a minor, explanations about intent rarely help. Compliance is measured mechanically. Civil court processes are one of the most dangerous areas for uninformed owners. Protective orders, restraining orders, and administrative determinations move quickly and rely almost entirely on paperwork. Many people ignore these notices, thinking they are temporary or informal. That assumption can instantly erase gun rights. Missing a hearing or failing to respond allows the process to continue without you. The Supreme Court's guidance makes clear that when these processes include notice and hearings, courts will respect them. That means firearm restrictions can be imposed without a criminal conviction, without a jury, and without the protections people assume apply. Silence becomes consent. Delay becomes loss. Communication habits matter more than ever. Text messages, emails, and social media posts can now be used to justify findings of risk or noncompliance. In a system focused on procedure, written records often outweigh later explanations. Casual comments, jokes, or venting can become permanent evidence. Context disappears, records remain. Interactions with law enforcement also require discipline. Being polite is important, but over-explaining is dangerous. Volunteering unnecessary information can create problems that did not exist before. Cooperation means following lawful orders, not narrating your situation. Knowing when to stop talking is now part of staying protected. Another overlooked issue is uneven enforcement. Some jurisdictions act aggressively, others move slowly. Do not assume that because something is ignored today, it will be ignored tomorrow. Enforcement patterns change rapidly after Supreme Court guidance clarifies legal standards. What feels safe now may be targeted later. Relying on future court challenges is not a shield. Even if a law seems questionable, it may remain active for years while litigation moves forward. During that time, it is enforced. People are arrested under it. Rights are lost under it. Winning later does not undo the cost of enforcement today. The Supreme Court did not announce the end of gun rights. It announced the rules of survival. Those rules favor precision, organization, and attention. The system no longer tolerates casual compliance. This moment does not call for panic. It calls for adaptation. Gun ownership now requires awareness as part of responsibility. Owners who stay informed, organized, and cautious will remain protected. Those who assume the old rules still apply will find out too late. Gun rights still exist. But under the current legal signal, they remain fragile. And for many people, they now hang by a single thread.